The sunlight streamed through the tall windows of the mansion, brightening the breakfast table with a warm glow. Wine sat quietly, buttering a piece of toast as the faint chirping of birds filled the silence. Across from her, Jungkook sipped his coffee. The laptop opened in front of him. The routine was always the same, peaceful on the surface, yet heavy with unspoken words. Wine. Do you want more coffee? She asked softly, glancing at the half-empty cup in front of him. He didn't look up. Jungkook. No, I'm fine. She nodded, focusing back on her plate. The clink of cutlery was the only sound for a while. Jungkook closed the laptop and put it in his bag. Jungkook. I'll be out late tonight. There's a meeting. Wine. Alright. She wasn't sure if he was telling her as a courtesy or out of obligation, but she accepted it regardless. He stood, adjusting the cuffs of his blue jacket. Jungkook. Don't forget to let the staff know if you need anything. He added, his voice calm but distant. Wine. I will. Without another word, Jungkook turned and left the room. The sound, the soft sound of his footsteps fading as he walked away. It's been 6 months that they have been arranged for marriage by their mafia parents, but the only talk between them is usually like this, if none at all. Vine stayed at the table finishing her breakfast in the stillness of the room. After breakfast, Vine wandered through the large, empty mansion. The silence weighed on her. The staff moved quietly in the background. Their presence was almost ghostly in the vast space. She glanced out the window. The sky was overcast, but the rain hadn't started yet. She decided to wander through the city to escape the suffocating quiet. Fine. I will be back in a few hours, she informed one of the staff as she grabbed her bags and keys. She wandered through a shopping mall, boutiques, and cafes, letting the hum of the city life drown out her thoughts. She picked up a few items, some groceries, a new book, and a scarf she didn't really need, but liked anyway. By the time she stepped out of the last store, the sky had darkened considerably. The deep gray clouds swirled ominously overhead, and the first rumble of thunder echoed in the distance. Wine's chest tightened as she quickened her pace toward the car. She fumbled with her keys, her hands trembling slightly. It's just a storm. You will be home soon, she told herself. The drive back was intense. The rain started as a drizzle, but quickly turned into a heavy downpour. The windshield with wipers struggled to keep up, and every crack of thunder sent a shiver down her spine. By the time she reached the mansion, her breathing was shaky. She pulled into the driveway, but couldn't bring herself to get out of the car. The storm was too loud, the memories of the past too vivid. Clutching the steering wheel, Vine pressed her hands to her ears, trying to block out the thunder that made her remember the fear buried inside her. She didn't notice Jungkook's car pulling in behind hers until he tapped on her window. Jungkook's car pulled into the driveway moments later. His brows furrowed when he saw Vine's car parked outside, unmoving. His first thought was that the vehicle had broken down, but as he approached her and looked inside the window, his eyes widened. The umbrella that he was holding dropped from his hands before he could notice, letting the rain soak him as he knocked out on the window. Jungkook. Vine, are you alright? Open the door. But she didn't look up. Her eyes were closed and hands tightly pressed against her ears. His worry deepened when he saw her trembling, her face pale and tear-streaked. Jungkook opened the door, his heart sinking at the sight of her. Vine, he said softly, kneeling beside her. His hands hovered over her shoulders, unsure if he would welcome his touch. Jungkook. It's me, Vine. You're safe. Look at me. She finally got aware of her surroundings, even though her hands were still pressed against her ears. She looked above at him. Her eyes looked as though she didn't recognize him. But then her gaze softened, and a broken sob escaped her lips. Without thinking, Jungkook pulled her into his arms, making her head rest on his abs as he was standing. Jungkook whispered, "It's okay. I've got you," he said while patting her head. She hugged him back tightly and sobbed in his embrace. But when the thunder struck again, she gasped once again, leaving him and putting her arms again on her ears. He finally discovered that she has a thing with lightning. He immediately picked her up in his arms and ran inside the mansion, while the guards struggled to keep the umbrella above them. He ran outside with her in his arms and carefully set her down on the bed after reaching inside. He grabbed a towel, gently dyeing her hair. Vine sat silently, her eyes staring at the floor, her hands still trembling. "Vine," he said, his voice got softer now, almost pleading. He crouched in front of her, taking her cold hands in his warm ones, and clutched them to make them stop shaking. "Jungkook, you're safe, Vine. I won't let anything happen to you." She shook her head, tears spilling again. She pulled her hand from his and put it on her forehead, saying, "I'll never be able to get out of this. I'm sick of this, Junko. Please, help me, please." He sat beside her on the bed and hugged her softly. "Junko, I will get you out of this. I promise. Tell me what happened." She shook her head hardly. "No, please. I don't want to remember that again." He broke the hug and held her chin, making her look at him. "Junko, look at me, Ryan. I'm here, right? Whatever happened can't happen again because now I'm with you, right? Look at me. It will never happen as long as I am here. You trust me?" She looked at him for a few seconds, her tears fading a bit as she nodded. "Junko, tell me now." She hesitated, her gaze fixed on him. "It's complicated." "Junko, I'm not going anywhere," he said firmly, his eyes searching hers. Her lips quivered as she took a shaky breath. "Fine. It was years ago. I was kidnapped during a storm, and ever since, I can't handle rain or thunder." "Why?" "They dragged me out of my car in the rain. The thunder was so loud and I was so scared, Jungkook. They kept me in a warehouse while the storm raged outside. I thought I was going to die." Jungkook's jaw tightened, and his grip on her hands firm, as if trying to anchor her to the present. "Jungkook, who did this to you?" "Why?" "It was a rival of my father's. They were trying to get to him through me. He saved me, but—" She shook her head, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Why? The rain and thunder, it always brings me back to that night. I can't escape it." Jungkook's heart clenched. He hadn't known. No one had told him about this part of her past. And now, hearing it, he felt a wave of guilt for all the times he had ignored her struggle. "Jungkook, you didn't deserve that. No one does. And I hate that you had to go through it alone. Are you still alive?" "Why?" "No, my father. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to tell you and make you worry." "Jungkook, you have nothing to apologize for." He brushed a strand of hair from her face, his touch lingering. "Jungkook, I'm sorry I wasn't there for you before. But I'm here now, and I'm not going to let anything happen to you." For the first time, she allowed herself to believe him. Something in his gaze, protective, almost fierce, made her feel safer than she ever had before. The storm continued outside, but for Vine it felt just a little less terrifying with Jungkook by her side. Fine. Thank you so much. The storm outside began to subside, but the tension in the room lingered. Jungkook leaned back slightly, still holding Ryan's hand, his expression softening. Jungkook, you know, I'm not really the comforting type, but I think I did pretty well just now. He gave her a small, almost shy smile. Ryan blinked at him, caught off guard. Why? Did you just compliment yourself? Jungkook smirked, leaning back against the headboard. I mean, someone has to appreciate me. Ryan couldn't help but laugh softly, wiping at the lingering tears on her cheeks. You're unbelievable. Unbelievably charming? He quipped, raising an eyebrow. Unbelievably full of yourself, she retorted, rolling her eyes. Before he could respond, a loud crash echoed from downstairs. Both of them froze, their heads snapping toward the door. Jungkook, what now? He muttered, standing up and grabbing the gun he kept hidden in the bedside drawer. Vine grabbed his arm, her eyes wide. What if it's an intruder? Jungkook, in this house, with my security, if someone's dumb enough to try, they deserve whatever happens. They cautiously made their way downstairs, Vine trailing behind him. The source of the noise was quickly revealed when they stopped in the kitchen. There, in the middle of the mess, was the family cat, sitting on the counter, surrounded by shattered plates and spilled pasta sauce. Junko, are you serious right now? He stared at the cat in disbelief. Wine covered her mouth to stifle a laugh. Someone had a party while we were upstairs. The cat let out an unapologetic mew, licking his paw as if he hadn't just turned the kitchen into a disaster zone. Jungkook pinched the bridge of his nose. Jungkook, I'm supposed to be a feared mafia boss, and here I am cleaning up after a cat. Ryan grabbed a towel, smirking. Jungkook, well, you were the one who said you would take care of me. The cat is part of the package. Jungkook glared at the villain, muttering under his breath as he started picking up the broken pieces. You're lucky she likes you. The cat jumped down, rubbing against Jungkook's leg in mock innocence. Fine burst out laughing. Looks like he likes you too, Jungkook. Great, just what I needed. A tiny, furry partner to my downfall. Fine laughed hardly, and looking at her, he was finally relieved that she was laughing once again.